everybody. Welcome to the Winners and Whiners Survivor Show. I'm your co-host, Scott the Steamroller Steehn with winnersandwhiners.com. Brought to you, also coming to you today with Mr. Pointy Fingers. It's the one, the only Andrew Champagne. There it is. That's in case you don't know where you are. Here you are. Wherever you go, Andrew, there you are.
Well, this is called advertising, Scott. I was trying to point down to the Winners and Whiners Survivor contest down below on the screen.
Yeah,
For instance, if I was to point up, this up here is the title of the show. And if I was to point up with this hand, you would point up to the Winners and Whiners logo, which is where you can go for a whole bunch of really cool stuff. And hey, while I'm on this tangent here, if you like what we do, go on down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and utilize the promo code SURVIVOR in the Winners and Whiners Expert Handicapper store for 20% off any item. See what I did there, Scott?
I see what you did. You did everything you could to avoid talking about how you did last week.
Yeah, we should probably do that. Producer Lenny, would you please help us out here?
Oh, let's see how last week went, shall we?
How in the name of everything holy did this happen? So, okay. First of all, the whole trying to avoid talking about things for anyone who knows me is a blatant lie because I can talk about pretty much anything, including the thing that happened on Sunday. So, the Baltimore Ravens, among others, were favorites that went down in the flames of defeat on Sunday, knocking out a lot, and I mean a lot, of Survivor Eliminator players. In fact, the Winners and Whiners Survivor contest, after starting with 51 or 52 players, is now down to 13 players after 2 weeks. 10 of us, self-included, went out with the Baltimore Ravens, who led the Raiders by 10 with 12 minutes to go at home on Sunday. Scott, how did this happen?
I don't know. And I watched that game. I still don't know how it happened. The Raiders, they were relentless. They refused to lose. Just win, baby. Just beat Andrew.
Oh, coming out of the black hole with the ghost of Al Davis. Just, God, horrible. Just absolutely horrible. And at a minimum, I'm not alone because, yes, 10 of us went out with the Ravens, but also several of us picked the Cowboys. Several of us picked the Lions. A couple of others picked a couple of other favorites. If you're staying alive through 2 weeks of this Survivor Showdown, more power to you. And Scott, your safe picks moved to 2-0 as the Chargers never looked like losers against probably the worst team in football.
Yes, that's my strategy of fading the Panthers has once again paid off. Take the worst team in football. Last in offense, last in defense, Andrew. Hard not to fade that team. And Chargers, they actually look like a pretty good team. They beat the Raiders the first week. And, of course, they beat the Panthers in their bye week. So we'll see how they look going forward. But you know what? I think maybe Harbaugh's turned that thing around. We'll see as things get tougher. They've got an interesting game this weekend, and then they've got the Chiefs next weekend. So, we'll know a lot more in a couple of weeks about the Chargers.
If there are any Panthers fans out there, two things. First of all, why? Second of all, we are very, very sorry. That team has the potential to be historically bad. And look, Bryce Young has not played well, but they are not handling the number one pick in the draft from a couple of years ago very well at all whatsoever. I do not know, Scott, many quarterbacks that would rise above all of the nonsense and perform well given everything else that's going on in that organization.
No, and there's only his size has really become an issue. There's only, I think, 4 quarterbacks in the NFL with significant starts that were under 4 feet. Flutie, Kyler Murray.
Under 6 feet, you mean, right?
What did I say? 5 feet?
You said under 4 feet, which would have been a heck of an achievement.
That would be something, yes. Yes, under 6 feet. Thank you. Thank you for that much needed correction. Yeah. Kyler Murray, Flutie, Russell Wilson, and Pat Hayden are your only quarterbacks under 6 feet that had significant success in the NFL. And I don't think we're going to be able to add Bryce Young to that list. He is not able to make the adjustments there as a short quarterback, find his lane, look down the field. There's guys open he's not able to see, Andrew, and I don't know how you fix that.
Well, it's not a fun situation. However, what is a fun situation is the fact that while Scott is 2-0 in his safe picks, I'm 2-0 in my strategic picks. The Washington Commanders used a 7 field goal performance to defeat the New York Giants. The Giants, Scott, scored 3 touchdowns, did not allow a touchdown, and somehow lost that game. Meanwhile, the Steelers moved to 2-0 with a win over the Broncos.
Yeah, somebody get Elias Sports Bureau on the phone because I'm guessing that hasn't happened very often.
It hasn't, actually. I believe that is a first. It's I watching that game, and first of all, feeling for Graham Gano, the kicker for the Giants, who went down to injury, and then you realize, wait a minute, they didn't have a backup kicker ready to go here.
Oh, I mean, that's not unusual. You don't usually dress a backup kicker.
But still, it's just you play with fire like that, and my guess is most coaches are going to try to find ways to get another player who can kick into a uniform for Sunday.
It's usually the punter. It's usually the punter that's going to be your backup kicker. And yeah, that was brutal. Graham Gano, just good kicker, just hasn't had the best of luck.
No, and Jaden Daniels did move the ball down the field reasonably well against the Giants defense. The Giants offense showed some signs of life against the defense that was nowhere near as good as Minnesota's in week number 1, but dropping to 0-2 in the process. So again, Scott 2-0 with the safe picks, me 2-0 with the strategic picks. This is what's going to enable us moving forward. The fact that we're going to keep going throughout this season, and hopefully one of us in one of those realms is going to get to where, hey, we can say you made money if you tailed us throughout the season as part of the Winners and Whiners Survivor Showdown.
All right. Well, so far they'd be up. So far they would be up if they had been tailing us in all of our picks. So we'll see if we can keep that trend going. Andrew, my strategy was just kind of fade bad teams early and then, switch gears middle of the season and figure out the more strategic picks. I'm going to have to worry about it for another couple of weeks. The way things are going, man, we're losing a half or more basically of our players. Well, we lost a third the first week. We lost more than half of the remaining 34, went from 34 to 13, right?
Yep, we lost 61% of players in the Winners and Whiners Survivor contest. Really quickly, though, if you are still alive, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, remember to play. We lost 3 players this past week because they didn't make a pick. And as bad as losing with the Ravens was, and it was dreadful, losing a contest like this one, or heaven forbid, a contest like the one over at Circa that has a $1,000 buy-in because you forgot to play. I don't get it, Scott. I don't get it at all.
Got to remember to play.
Yep. Yes, if ever there was a time for the sad trombone, it's that one. But you know what? We're going to keep the emotions high. We're going to keep our spirits high as we go into week number 3. And if you've seen our first couple of shows, you know this format by now. Scott and I will give you safe picks and we'll give you strategic picks for this week's slate of games. So as we move on to week number 3, I thought about a couple of games for my safe pick. I thought about the Jets on Thursday night against the Patriots. The short week makes me a little bit nervous. And also there's the possibility that the Patriots aren't all the way bad.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, what I'm going to do is wait until Monday, where it sure seems like a must-win game for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, I am in some way, shape, or form involving the Washington Commanders for a 3rd consecutive week. The Bengals dropped to 0-2 after a hell of a game, Scott, with the Kansas City Chiefs. That was a fun game to watch. Many people debating what happened in the last couple of minutes. It's never fun when the officials get involved. Personally, as a neutral bystander, I think they made the right call. It's just you wind up with people saying they're bailing out star quarterbacks left and right, and it's never a fun place to be. Having said that, the Bengals now 0-2. They have a get-right spot on Monday Night Football against the Commanders, where they're a solid favorite. And I think this is a safe pick because if the Bengals somehow drop to 0-3, panic mode starts setting in. I think we get the Bengals as best as we've seen them to this point in the season. They've got an extra day to sort out some of the nonsense from this past week. Hopefully, Jamar Chase has calmed down and isn't going to be yelling any forbidden words to the officials. But yeah, I'm taking the Bengals as my safe pick. They're too good to go to 0-3. The Commanders I've got some respect for. I do think they're going to be able to put up some points, but I don't think they can keep up with a Joe Burrow-led offense.
All right, very good. That's well, I was going to say I wish the best for you, but I hope that hit. I said before the Chiefs game that I didn't think the Chiefs were as good as the people were giving credit for after Baltimore. I didn't think Cincinnati was as bad as they were after the New England game, and that certainly turned out to be the case. Cincinnati did just about everything right except stop the Chiefs on the last drive and arrive at the mesh point there of that catch third of a second later.
Just a little early.
Yep. And, got to admit, hell of a pass, though.
Yeah.
It really was a hell of a pass. So,
yeah, that Mahomes guy does some pretty cool things.
He's pretty good. It was arguably his worst game as a pro. I think he threw for $151, 2 picks. I know it's his lowest yardage total in any game that he has started and finished. So, that's – and if I'm the rest of the league, I'm looking at the Chiefs going, if we can't beat him when he plays like that, how are you going to beat him? And it's a great question. So we'll see what happens. I don't hate your pick, buddy. Cincinnati has got to get right at some point. Although I sound like I did for the first 6 weeks of the season last year. So I am worried about that. But for the third straight year, the Bengals have started 0-2. We'll see what happens. Gambler's fallacy, Andrew. They're due.
They are indeed due. God, how much money has been lost with that philosophy? I mean, there are people that bet on the Washington Generals thinking they were due against the Harlem Globetrotters. The Simpsons made an episode about that. Always bet responsibly, kids. Don't follow the example set by Krusty the Clown.
Fair enough. Sage advice right there, my friend.
Thank you. Scott, what do you have this week?
Well, Andrew, I'm hooking up the bucket. I'm reeling it down the well. I'm going to bring it back up, and hopefully it'll be sloshing full of water again. Yeah, I'm going to the well one more time and fading the Carolina Panthers. I'm taking your Raiders, buddy. I'm taking
my Raiders.
Your heartbreaking Raiders that absolutely screwed you last week. This isn't, dare I say it, Andrew, this isn't a terrible Raiders team. Can that be true?
It can be, yeah.
I don't. They still can't run the ball, but, I think Minshew is doing his thing. But it's all about the fading this Panthers team because, like we talked about, Bryce Young is out. The quarterback that's almost 37 years old, the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, is taking over. Congratulations. He started one game since 2022. But he ain't playing defense, baby. They still can't stop anybody. So even if they can get a modest improvement on the offensive side of the ball, I don't know how they're going to stop this Las Vegas Raiders team. Raiders are at home. I like them. I'm fading the Panthers again. And if that bucket comes up dry, well, shame on me for going to the same strategy 3 straight weeks.
I mean, the big question I've got is who's blocking number 98 there in that picture and some of his friends?
I agree. I think, Andy Dalton, never the most mobile quarterback in the world, and that's only gotten worse. He's a statue back there, brother. They start putting some outside pressure on him. I don't know where he steps up. I don't know what he does. I think it's going to be a long day for whoever is under center for that Carolina Panthers team.
I can't fault that logic. And for as decent as the Raiders might be, they play in a very tough division. So this is not a bad spot to use the Raiders and just be done with them.
Yep.
This is probably their best shot of the season. So safe pick there. Hopefully a safe pick with the Bengals as well. As we move on to our strategic picks, I got to tell you, Scott, this one makes me just the slightest bit nervous, but it's another instance where if I don't wind up using this team now, I don't know when I'm going to use them, and I think it's a fairly good spot. I'm referring to the Indianapolis Colts at home against the Chicago Bears. The Colts are 0-2. They've played a couple of decent teams, very tough. Those have been single-score games against the Texans and the Packers. Their defense is fine. That's not the issue, and I think they're going to have a really fun time sending pressure after poor Caleb Williams. We were talking about the Panthers and their offensive line issues. Man, I watched that game between the Bears and the Texans, and I felt so bad for Caleb Williams. That guy is going to be running for his life most of this regular season. I sincerely hope he plays and finishes every game because he's going to be subject to some pass rushers coming straight for him. I
Yeah.
think this is a good matchup for the Colts right here. And I think if you're ever going to use the Colts at home against a rookie quarterback, this is probably the time.
Yeah, we'll get Anthony Richardson to stop turning the ball over. That would be handy. But
That would be wonderful too. Or, you could play Jonathan Taylor in the fourth quarter. Just, have your best player on the field in a single score game to potentially use as a weapon. I'm no coach, but that seems kind of obvious.
yeah, it really does. Of course, I'm no general manager, but it seems like if you go out and spend a bunch of money on receivers, use a bunch of capital to draft Caleb Williams, you might want to put an offensive line in there.
Just a thought.
Just
a thought. I mean, you probably want to protect your investment. What's the line from The Blind Side? The first you buy the house and next you buy the insurance.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yes, it's going to be a long season, I think, for young Master Williams. My pity, however, is somewhat tempered every time I see the deal that he signed. So yeah.
Right. Although I do feel bad for the punter who was told he was not going to have to punt very much and was sold a false bill of goods.
Well, he's just kicking himself, no pun intended, for not signing that per punt contract.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, let's talk about my strategery play here, shall we? This is going to be a situational play for me, one I wouldn't normally make, but I'm going to be fading a second string quarterback, Andrew, as I take a look at the Seahawks and the Dolphins. Skylar Thompson, the pride of Lee Summit, Missouri, where I sit right now, as a matter of fact, will be going at quarterback for the Dolphins. And it is, let's say, just a little bit of a drop off between his skill level and Tua's skill level. He's fine-ish as a second string quarterback, but not ideal. And he just, I don't know what he's going to be able to do with that team. I like the Seahawks in this spot. Another team probably not going to get a lot of opportunity to use, and you're certainly not going to get many opportunities to fade Miami, although we'll see what happens with the quarterback situation going forward. I think this is a good spot for him, even though Thompson's had an entire week to prepare. I don't really care. He just doesn't have the arm that Tua does. I've got Seattle there as my strategery pick.
I thought about the Seahawks. They should win. The Dolphins coaching staff, though, is a coaching staff that I have a fair amount of respect for. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a little bit closer than I think maybe we thought after the game where Tua went down and Skylar Thompson had to come in with no prep, no seasoning, nothing. In a game, by the way, where it certainly seemed like once the Bills got up early, I don't want to say the Dolphins quit, but you could tell it was 100 degrees. They're down multiple scores. I don't think anyone was particularly excited to go out there and play a good Bills team.
Yeah,
I think we are going to see a little bit of an improvement this time around. I don't know if it's enough, and I think the Seahawks are not a bad team for sure. Geno Smith can make a lot of very good throws. That was my reasoning for going elsewhere with mine, but I see where you're going, and I like where your head's at.
Well, we'll see. Like you said, 0-2 on my strategic picks so far.
Not 0-2, 1-1.
Or 1-1, rather. Sorry.
1-1. Give yourself some more credit, Scott.
I hit the Steelers last week. Oh, my God. Talk about bad offenses. Holy mackerel.
Yeah. What? Justin Fields didn't move the needle for you?
Yeah. You talk about, man, it's a good thing Caleb Williams is so bad, or everybody would be talking about how bad Bo Nix is right now.
Well, I mean, it's the Bryce Young being, in a worse situation than that, I think, is making a number of quarterbacks very thankful at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. So that's it, man. That's what we're going to do. We'll see what happens as I continue my fade Carolina strategy. Again, don't overthink it, kids. I tend to get in my own head about the strategic picks, and you see how those have gone. But the no-brainer, fade the worst team with the worst offense and fade the team with the worst defense. Hey, they're the same team. That makes it easy. Let's go. Who's ever playing the Panthers? Rah, rah.
I can't say I blame you too much for that. As a final reminder before we bid you adieu for another week, go on down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and log on to Winners and Whiners. Head over to the expert handicapper section and use the promo code SURVIVOR for a 20% discount on any one of our handicapping products. I'll have a couple of things going up this weekend. We'll have a number of things going up from a number of different handicappers. It's a huge arsenal of people that are very good at what they do. So come on over, take a look, check us out if that's something you're looking for.
I really like it when you do the plug. I have to do that about 3 or 4 times a day in all the videos that I do. So it's really nice. It's like a little bit of a vacation day. I just sit back and let you do all the promo stuff.
Hey, tag me in. Tag me in. I got the tag rope. I'm leaning over the top rope. Tag me in. Tag me in.
Hey, you guys have a great week. Good luck to everybody, but especially good luck if you're still one of the lucky 13 still involved in the Winners and Whiners Survivor contest. Here's a hint. Fade the Panthers.
See you next week, everybody.
Take care, everybody.